All right. So just to begin, welcome. My name is Ben Clayton. I'm the Chief Engagement Officer at STS, which stands for Strategic Thinking Systems. We run these webinars. So what we do is we like to do deep dives into different use cases for AI, strategic thinking, and planning. So what we do at Strategic Thinking is we help companies go from idea, you have a new challenge, you need to solve this new issue, you need to plan your next product launch, or basically create your Q4 plan for this year. What do you do? So what tools do you use? Are you coming together in strategic planning meetings and doing whiteboarding? Are you using post-it notes? And then what do you do after that? So what we found is that we come from, a lot of us come from a consulting background, project management background, and what we found is there's a massive gap in between the say the C-suite or the decision makers of a company that are actually doing this strategic thinking and to the PMO. So the gap has been between like figuring out what to do and then actually executing on it. So we've identified that there's over $12 trillion in revenue loss when projects fail globally. So this is obviously a massive problem that we address quite well with our platform. What we'll do on this webinar is we'll show you how the platform works, how you can go from an idea to an actual plan, and we're going to kind of to do something a little bit different this time, is we're going to talk about using it for like actually your job search, because we've been talking to a lot of project managers and they're looking for new work or to change career or to move from positions. And that requires, planning and strategic thinking and so on. And so this is actually a great tool for exactly that. Now, this isn't the usual like market that we speak to, but when we're speaking to project managers and they're coming to us and they're saying, hey, we need help with this, with planning, and we see there's an opportunity, we're going to jump at it. So that's what this is really about. We'll show you how to use STS in order to do your deep strategic thinking about your work, where you are now, and what you would like to accomplish, and then leveraging your project management skills, or even if you don't have any, you're not a project manager yourself, you can still use this in order to create the plan that you can then execute. So where am I now? Where do I want to go? How am I going to get there? So that's what we'll rock through on this particular webinar. What I'll do now is I'll kick it over to Priya and Francis to do a quick intros. And then I'll go through the agenda for the rest of the webinar in our platform itself. So Priya, over to you.
So I'm the CRO for Strategic Thinking Systems, so building more of these mid-sized enterprise relationships. And then I have a PhD in industrial organizational psychology, and I focus on virtual teams and collaborating in those types of spaces. So bringing some of that knowledge into STS support collaboration, because as Ben mentioned, we really focus on that sort of alignment, collaboration in the front end, alignment across cross-functional teams, and then also moving from that to the execution planning phase so that we can next execute on those plans. So that's what my role is. So Francis, go ahead.
So my name is Francis Dion. I'm the CEO of STS. So I'm a technical founder. I just remember earlier this week that I actually built my first computer. It was a paper-based computer in the 1970s. And that's how long I've been interested in AI and everything geek and nerd related. But my real passion is really strategy and thinking and making decisions that make a difference.
That's great. Thank you, Francis. And I don't know, are you every time you do an intro, I think you're getting older. You keep on going back in time and doing more cool stuff when you're even younger. Okay, now you built a computer in the 70s.
Yes, I did. Paper-based.
Paper-based.
That actually did calculations, if you imagine.
I love it. You have surprising skills. All right, so thank you both. So what I've done is I've dropped into the chat. This is, if you haven't registered yet, you can use the first link to create an account, and that's so that you can access the second link, which is our board for today. And I'll just start sharing my screen to show you what we're going to walk through. And this is what you'll have access to. And the point here too is that like what we want to do, the way that we approach our webinars, and we really want these to be quite different. We want them to be interactive, first of all. But the second thing is that we want to give you something at the end of this. So we like to create things live on the call. We like to solve problems live on the call. This tool that you're now seeing, this is a board within STS, is interactive. It's something you can collaborate with your team to go from those ideas or like trying to solve some different problems and create that plan. But you do it as a team. The folks that are on this call right now, we're all over the world. And so that may be true too with your team, or even if you're not, even if you're in the next office, this is still a place where you can collaborate together, and then also bring in the power of AI to help address specific things that you're working on. So here's our agenda. This is a way to use a board, run meetings this way. So we're probably a little bit over already with our welcome and intros. Francis will spend a couple minutes talking about our story, like how we got here. Priya will talk, just make sure everybody's on board, knows how to use the tool really quickly. And then we'll get into actually managing your job search. And then Q&A, here's number 5, but that's really throughout the whole thing. Just unmute yourself, raise your hand, however you need to get our attention, and just let's talk. So don't wait for that. And then we'll talk about what's coming up. And in the meantime, you can drop some questions here. So this is in this board, within this frame and list here, you can just start typing in here and just hit enter, and then you'll see a card. And if somebody doesn't mind just doing something like that, everybody will see that you can actually start to interact this way. We also, this is a great place to capture notes. So we have a transcription service auditor here in the room with us taking notes. And sometimes what I'll do is I'll just grab, oh, that was a great point, and I'll drop it in the notes, and then we have it later when we refer back to this board. And then on the right here, you can see our little AI tab, as we call it. We have a colleague here. It's set up automatically is our help assistant. And here an example prompt is, what is STS and how do I use it? So if you ever get like stuck, you're not sure exactly what to do, you can always ask the help assistant. Or you can just ask AI too. So just to click on it, I just clicked on the little blue box. You can always tell when it's an AI, when it's surrounded by blue and blue text. You click on it, you'll see what information it's going to bring from. So this is a cool feature within STS, is that you can control what AI sees. So the way that this was designed, Francis will probably talk about this in a minute, is to help us organize information. And when you direct our attention, like our team's attention, to the specific information you need at that time, it helps reduce overwhelm, it helps you focus, and it also helps AI too. So AI will less likely to hallucinate and give you a lot better answer. We constantly are surprised at how good answers we get when we're able to point it directly at what it needs and nothing else. And then the last thing I'll say on this piece is that when you click on this right here, give your AI colleague a specific expertise or responsibility. You see it's chosen a STS help assistant, but you can choose one of our other colleagues. So whether it's a CEO, maybe if you don't have an HR officer, you can bring in that expertise, marketing officer, et cetera. So you can choose a lot of expertise to bring into the work that you're working on, and just hit save once you've made that choice. Okay, so with that, Dale.
Yeah. How do I access the orientation intro video?
That's a great question. If you go up here to help, you can just click here. There's a few ways to do it. Just by clicking that, it will take you to our documentation page. And then there's getting started links here, and how to like build workspaces, edit boards, and demos.
Is there one that you would highlight for the first one to orient people to?
Yeah, Priya, please.
Oh, I was just saying, if you go to the help assistant and ask, how do I get started with STS, it'll take you to the appropriate sections.
Yeah, that's a other way to do it. So there's 3 quick ways to do it, and that's a great way, is that just using that help assistant. From that prompt, I gave it already, and it says, how do you use STS? Here's your information structure guide, how to start with your context, create your team. Just from that simple prompt, I got all these great resources that will take you to, the specific resource if it wasn't already there. within the answer itself.
Well,
Okay,
and
great.
then also there's a small delay. Yeah, there you go. And then it'll take you to the direct resource and section.
Cool.
Okay, great. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Francis, over to you. Just a little bit of backstory of how we got here and why.
Sure. So you might have noticed the name of STS includes a strategic thinking system, but also includes the number 42, which is famously the answer to the question of what is life, the universe, and everything. So really, the whole idea behind STS is that we cannot just think that we can delegate all of our thinking to a giant computer, no matter how smart it is, and there's debates going on as to what AI can and cannot do as of today. But even if, which is not the case, but even if the AI becomes all-knowing and super smart, again, not the case today. It's smart, but not super smart, in my opinion. But even if when it gets there, there are things that you need to think through, that you need to decide for yourself, and that you and your team needs to align and get to the heart of how you feel and how you are going to make that decision that's important for your business, for your life, or whatever. And so that's the whole premise behind STS. It's a tool that, yes, leverages AI, but it's an AI and it's an interface that is built to help you think and help make your own decisions for yourself.
That's great. Thank you, Francis. So this is a good time for asking you questions about how we got here or what we're doing exactly. But so just unmute yourself, raise your hand. But other than that, Priya, I'll hand it over to you, and I'll let you do the onboarding quick demo, maybe within the job search itself if you want, but I'll let you take the lead.
Okay, and I think you've done a fairly good job of the onboarding demo already there, Ben. So,
All right.
All right, so I will share my screen here. So Natalia, I don't know if you can go off mute. I'd love to hear a little bit more about you. And Jay has shared he's working with a startup and doing all the operations things required for a startup. So Natalia, if you're able to unmute, we'd love to hear a little bit about you as well. If not, what I want to do is share a little bit about how you can set up STS for career search. So we have actually created a template. So here in the STS environment, you can see on my screen, it's organized into folders and teams. So the folders are nested within the teams, and you can create your own team here. So if I click on create new team, I simply have to name the team and then I add the email addresses of the team members, and that'll keep all those team members in a confined space, and their information will be private to those team members. So if you wanted to share and have people collaborate on a single board, that's how you would do that. You'd create the team and then you'd share that a link to a board with the team members. So that's one of the small elements of STS. And then here you can see it's sort of organized in folders. And I'm going to go to my folder or there. And I've got a demo folder here. So once I click that and I go into the folder, what I'm also able to do next is create a board. So if you click on create a board at the top right-hand side, you'll see the option to create a folder or a board. If you only see the option to create a folder, you need to create that folder and then click into the folder, and then you'll see the option to create a board. Once you click this option to create a board, you can select a template. So for today, if you select this job search template, you can participate in the process and start doing your own job search as well. So you just simply click on that and click create board, and you'll have access to a job search template. So your version is going to be completely blank. It's going to look like this: resume, cover letter, desired requirements, assessment results, and preferred jobs. And so if you have your resume available, you can just copy and paste it into this space where I'm typing here, where it says type text here, then hit enter. So I'm typing text and I hit enter, and we end up creating a card. So if you have your resume, I highly recommend that you copy and paste it. If you have a cover letter, copy and paste, do the same thing. And now I've created a board in advance, so I'll show you what that looks like. So here I've filled in all of the fields. So I've got the resume here. I've got it's all mock. It's a mock cover letter. We've added some desired requirements. So where do you want your job? Do you want a remote or hybrid job? What are your salary expectations? What kind of company is it? This is a mid to large tech company. What kind of benefits are you looking for? So you can add all of this information to a list. You're essentially, think of these vertical lists like grocery lists. Just add the list, add information to the list, or a task list, or an information list. And you can have multiple separate cards, or you can also have very long cards with a single card with a lot of detail. And I can show you what that would look like. So I'm going to select the cards for resume. I'm going to click select all cards. And then here I can click on selected cards and I can copy them to the clipboard. And I'm going to add a list to the left here. Now I could add a huge, I'm just going to call this example. I can add a huge block of text into this and I have a single card with all of that text. So this list called resume contains the same information as the list called example. The only difference is it's one card with a huge block of text. And in this list, there's separate blocks. And that allows you to edit and elements of that text. So I can delete a single card here, or I can type and I can edit on these cards. Here, you just essentially treat it like a Word document. Here, you're able to drag and drop cards to different lists for it to organize your thought process. So with that being said, I'm going to delete this list. Okay, now I've filled in this information in advance. So we've got resume information, cover letter information, desired requirements, assessment results. So if you had assessments, a personality assessment, you did a job sample, anything along those lines, you could add that information here as well. So this is, it's all mock. So this person has some relevant experience is 8 years, project delivery record. This person's a high performer. They've worked with Agile, Waterfall, etc. So this is a mock assessment. And then what I've done here is I've searched for some preferred jobs. So I'm going to bring in our AI now. So I am able to open a tab here and bring in an AI when I want one. If I don't want to look at it, I can hide the AI. So I'm going to pop it in. And this is our desktop template. There's a phone template that won't allow you to pop in an AI. On the desktop template, you can do pop in an AI. And I can show you the phone template a little later. So what we're able to do now is work with our assistant. So I can click on our AI here that we recognize by this blue outline. And I can select the input. So we have assessment results, and these are the titles of the list. So cover letter, I've got some desired requirements, and then I have my resume. So I've titled my list and I can recognize them because I chose good titles that are meaningful to me. And I can select those here so they become an input to the AI. And then now I'm going to work with our general assistant, which is ChatGPT 4.0. Before I go forward, does anyone have any questions or are you following? Is anyone deeply confused?
Mhm.
We're good? Okay. So with that being said, I've selected the inputs to my AI here. I've selected the AI personality, which is just a general assistant, and I'm going to ask it to help me find a job and provide some web links. And because it's AI, you will get all sorts of different kinds of responses, different formats. It'll always look different because that's how AI works. But here now it's started to look for some jobs. So it's got a principal project manager, San Francisco, 145,000 to 160 annually. It's an in-office job. And we've got a source here, which is Bullet in San Francisco. So if I click on this
Built
link,
in.
built in San Francisco. Thank you. I don't know why I couldn't read that. So it'll take me to the link, and then I can start searching for that job that was described through this link. And if I like it, then I can save the link. Maybe I don't want the generic built-in San Francisco link, so I could do a little bit more research here, work arrangements in office. Sorry, what am I looking at with the job title? Here. So I could do my search on the website and see if there's something relevant. And then I could click to the relevant job. And let's say if I liked this job, I can copy the link there. And let's say I'm just going to keep this over here. I can drag that over and I can click on this card. I click on card details and then I add my hyperlink. So now I start selecting jobs that I like. I'm looking for, okay, I do want to keep this information about the salary and I want to keep information about the location. So I can just drag and drop the relevant information over. Or let's say I wanted to keep it in a single card, I can just copy and paste and keep it sort of blocked together if I don't want to have it in separate cards for my organizational process, and I can delete the other information. And then I can just click on this card and I can put my links here again. And then when I come back to it in the future, it should take me directly to that page. So now you start going through a process and you start building out your jobs in a list. You might organize them by different types of jobs. You might add additional lists to the right. And you can start building a process where you start organizing your jobs in lists within STS. And then let's say you want to apply for a job. I'm going to go back to the job that we were looking at here. And let's see if I get a proper job description. Okay, there's some jobs here. And let's say, let's look at the eClinical Solutions project manager job. And let's see if they give me anything. Okay, so this one seems like it may be blocked. This is the one thing is that you're going to run into paywalls and things on the web. So if AI can't access it, then our tool can't access it either. But you can grab that information for yourself and access that set that up. So then let's say you had some kind of a job description. You could put your job description into STS in a list. And I can put my job description here. And then I could add that list as context. And I could ask the AI to help me generate interview questions. So we've pre-populated a few things. Help me refine my cover letter. Please help me update my resume. So you can add information about a job description to a list and then start refining your resume, your cover letter. You can practice interview questions and you just keep moving back and forth with the AI to ask questions so that you can prepare for your job and organize all of the information in this space. Does anyone have questions? Is everyone overwhelmed?
We're going to create a job description for you, and then you could drop it in there, or you could actually show how to do that too. Because I always
Yeah.
like to create the mock stuff, mock
Yeah.
information.
So I'm going to ask it to generate a mock job description here. Let's see. It's got something here. So it still has the context. So it's now going to generate a mock job description that's relevant to the context that it already has. If I remove that context, which I'll show you in a second, it would probably generate something relatively random. Sometimes it doesn't. again, AI.
Hmm.
Okay, let me see if I can get this information. So here we go. So we have a mock job description, 145 to 165, reports to director of project management. We've got a position overview. So then I might grab this information here and select all of it. I'm going to move it over now. I have a job description. I'll just cut and paste that information over here. And now I'm going to go configure my AI colleague. I'm going to keep my assessment results, the cover letter, desired. Everything is actually quite relevant here. I'm going to keep the job description. I don't need the preferred jobs. And I'm going to ask the AI, how can I update my cover letter for this job?
Nice. We can also, if you like using some of the different models, you'll see just above where pre-typed, you can choose Perplexity or Claude, or ChatGPT to give you different responses.
So yeah,
So
so
I've got a
go ahead.
question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Will it help match up the elements of the resume into this job description and give you a strength of match?
We can ask it. Let's find out.
Yes.
So let me do this. That's a great question, Charlie. So I'm gonna remove my assessment results. I'm gonna remove my cover letter. I'm gonna remove the desired requirements, and I'm gonna put in my resume and my job description. So I'll hit save. And here you're going to see this, the AI has produced an updated cover letter based on the information I provided, but I'm not going to read that to you. So now I'm going to ask the AI, how well does my resume match the job description? Where do I have gaps? And what can I do to address them? Let's see what it tells us. Okay. So strong matches, your resume closely aligns with most of the job requirements. We've got experience, leadership, methodologies, project scale. Now, in this particular situation, we would have a very strong alignment. The reason being that I generated the job description on the basis of the resume. Had I used a random job description, we might have gotten something entirely different. So it's talking about all the there, and then it's identifying some minor, these are potential gaps or weaknesses, and it's saying they're minor, but they could be addressed. So job requirements, status on resume, et cetera, et cetera. So we've got some SaaS sector experiences not explicitly stated, digital transformation initiatives, et cetera. So it's giving us advice on how to address some of those gaps. And it's providing some sample edits as well to address the gaps.
Yeah,
And
great.
that's a professional summary. Someone said something?
I just said that was a great question. I used when ChatGPT first came out, I used it very similarly, but in an interface I don't like. I didn't have this yet, so I was able to get basically some guidance, and as in terms of what to do with those gaps.
Yeah.
The other one that I've used in these interviewing kinds of models is I would like to know, what would AI tell me are the questions I need to ask about the resume, and what evidence should I be asking for to validate that this candidate has these capabilities?
So that's from the interviewer's perspective.
Yeah, it becomes the interview guide.
Yeah.
And I want to prepare for that. So if I'm the interviewer, I get this. But if I'm the interviewee, I'm also preparing for that possible set of questions and have in my folio the evidence that they might be looking for.
And one of the things Charlie's mentioning there, I don't know if this is noticeable to people on the call, but because we can adjust the context that goes into the AI, we just talk to it like we're talking to a person. We essentially ask very human-like questions to these AI personas. We don't have to write long and complicated prompts because we're bringing in the context as necessary. And we don't have to plan the perfect prompts in advance because we can add context, we can remove context, we can adjust things as we go through the process. So as many of you are probably familiar, when you start a chat in ChatGPT, if we switched personas the way Charlie is describing, it's very likely that ChatGPT would get very confused in a chat because we've gone from candidate to interviewer. In this space, we can go from candidate to interviewer back to candidate, and it's not going to pull in all the past history of the chat and get confused. So Charlie, if you want to ask the question again, I can give an example. What interview question?
Yeah. What are interview questions might be presented to me based on the resume that I'm giving them, and what evidence will I need to produce that says that I'm capable of these things that are in these resumes? I've heard in the industry people fabricate their resumes, so you have to validate what's in the resume through Q&A and ask for evidence.
I'm going to try something here.
Yep.
So thus far, I've been working with the general AI assistant,
Yep.
but I want to go to our HR expert and see what our HR expert sees, how it will respond to this. So we have an HR officer.
Yep.
And I'm going to make sure I have the resume selected and the job description selected, and I'll use the cover letter as well. Why not? And then we'll ask the question.
We could create a list too to capture some of these to prepare, like get some good questions that you don't have an answer to and you need to do the research. It's a good use case.
I'll do this. Potential interview questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, these techniques come out of a process that GE adopted. It's called top grading for all candidates.
Cool.
Guy by the name of Smart, I think it was maybe Jeffries' son, but there was a guy that invented this and we implemented it at GE.
Nice.
So these are some of the things you can do. If you wanted to select multiple cards, you also have the option to check on these little boxes to the right.
Mm-hmm.
Select the list where you want to move those cards. You select the cards, and I can cut and paste them over. So these, I'm thinking these interview questions will be important for me to consider.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing you might do, so it's providing, can you describe how you delivered your 4 million communication project ahead of schedule?
Mm-hmm.
So if I wanted to prepare for this, I might, and I didn't know where to begin, I could also go back now, hit save, and say, make sure I bring in the potential interview questions and say, how can I answer this question in the best way? And now it might help me, oops, it should have been a question mark, but now it might help me really think through how I might want to prepare my answer to this question effectively.
Did not fabricate.
Yeah. So talk about the situation, the action, and the results. So it'll help you structure it. It'll give you that type of information and then help you highlight your greatest contributions.
Good.
So we've gone from hunting for jobs on the web. We've updated our resume and our cover letter based on that information, and we've prepared for the interview all in one space just by moving things around and asking questions and changing our context. So does anyone on the call have any questions about this process? Or any questions in general? We're very quiet today.
So I added to the chat a question that I just ran on our previous board. Can you explain the interview question process, I believe developed by Jeffrey Smart at GE, and it described what Charlie was talking about. So that could be, a great extra value there.
Yeah. Ben, do you want to show the deep dive that you created as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'd like to. Happy to do that. So what I'll do is I'll take this I think everybody can see that this is a fantastic a place to start. Like you're capturing your context, what you're looking for, the kind of job, you're getting some ideas of like how to prepare for an interview or who you should even be interviewing with. Also we saw a couple of companies that were hiring. You could do the research on those different kind of companies, and then start to do the research of like, what are they typically looking for? What does Glassdoor say about them? But capture all of that information in the different lists as you go. So you can continue to add lists. Oh, I hadn't thought about this, or add a frame, or even another board so that you can use as like capturing, like I've interviewed with these people. Like there's a lot you can do. And what I'll share is like kind of a little bit more of approach, like if you're a project manager approaching this over longer term. So what we just looked at was kind of like immediate. You need to find a job, you need to prepare for some interviews, who to talk to, how much you'd be asking for, and so on. And what I've done is I've taken it another step and like looked at basically similar kind of step. Like you get the background, but then actually go a little bit deeper in some of the things like maybe what's going on in the market, do some market research, and also look at the competitors. Like who are you competing against when it comes to finding a job? And you can use, so I set up a list like this, and I added a chief marketing officer where I'll connect it with the first two lists here, and I'll say, I could ask questions like, what are the current market trends? Who's hiring? What are the trends in product management, for example? Like, maybe I've been working with a company for the last 4 years, and I went as far as I could in that company, and I need to look further. But what are some of the tools that other companies are using, or what's the trends now in terms of different frameworks that are being called on? And so if you do that kind of research, then you can figure out what the skills that you need to start to develop. So even added a chief technology officer, like to be as my, say, tech skills colleague. So where do I have, this is to Charlie's question earlier, says, where do I have gaps in my skills and how can I address them? Same idea here, right? So you have your background and what you're looking for. So what are the skills that I need to do? And then, so once you get these answers, like going the step further is like, okay, let's have some short-term goals and some long-term goals. Right now I need to work, I need to get hired, I need, but maybe I have a little bit more time, or maybe I want to think about my career in a few stages. Like, all right, so let's say I'm my late 20s. Like I want to, continue to work as a project manager, but where does this career go? Like, what's the next thing for me? So where are the opportunities next for me, and what skills do I need to develop for those next steps? So if you add your long-term goals, you work with your chief strategy officer here to start to think about maybe where there's some opportunities, maybe where there's some risks, like something that maybe in your resume you haven't thought of, or maybe in the career, like maybe things are changing so fast now. It's important to do a little bit of risk assessment. So what I like about this is that you're taking in those kind of questions that you would be asking as a project manager within your job, but you're applying it to your own job search and career search. And so Charlie, I want to go to you. It's like, what would you do if you were currently looking right now for a job within the market, or you're thinking more long term over your career? Like, what kind of questions would you want to be adding to a board are things that you want to make sure that you're researching.
Yeah. Where my thoughts were going there, Ben, was I know at PMI they have a competency model
Mhm.
that is by level, and I would go through and do an assessment of my skills against the competency model, and then start building a career path for myself through that competency model to go from project coordinator to junior project manager to program manager to PMO. And what is that? And then I would be asking AI, where can I get those skills in the marketplace? So I can start beefing them up. So when I show up at that interview, this is all the results that I have achieved. And this is the trajectory that I want in my career. So I'm going to be having a dialogue with them to see if that's realizable at that company. And I say, oh, by the way, these are the things I'm doing in self-development to build these additional skills to get to that next level of competency.
Nice. That's great. And so I threw this in because that's something I hadn't considered before. I could put that within maybe my next steps. Like I have like the next step here is the actual execution plan. So something that I need to do is I need to research the PMI competency model. Oops, grabbed the
Right.
wrong one. So I'm just going to put that here. And I think that this is something else I just wanted to point to, is that once you start to do all this like brainstorming and research and you start to gather all this information, really the next step, right, is actually create the plan itself. Like what are your next steps? What do you need to do? And you basically lay it all out. And you could use STS as that, or you could export it into one of your favorite project management tools as well.
It's always got to come down to what do I need to do in a prioritized sequence? What timeline? What's my estimated burn rate of my hours to apply that time so I can get to that and achieve that goal or objective in my career with the company I'm talking to today or the one I'm going to speak to tomorrow. So you keep on building on your past, but headed toward a trajectory that knows basically the additional value added skills and competencies that people will pay you more money for.
Right
So
on.
they can anticipate you generating actually better results in the future.
Well summarized. Great. And even I have a section here for reflections too. So like, what have you learned? Where are the areas to develop? What are some of the things that I've tried that work and what doesn't work so you can continue to build on it. Cool. Okay. So I think, is there any other thoughts? Priya, anything you'd add to that, or Francis, Dale?
The main thing is, if it wasn't obvious, is you're able to customize these boards exactly the way that you want them to. So they're sort of starter templates, but that's not the workflow that you're confined to. You can build these in any way that works for your process and then customize that. So the whole sort of philosophy behind STS is a thinking tool for yourself, and then a thinking tool that allows you to collaborate with other people, as well as multiple AI personas, so that you can ensure that you're considering all the different perspectives from different human beings and different AI personas when you are making decisions. And also AI models, which I didn't demonstrate, but you can ask Perplexity, Google, Claude, or ChatGPT for, you can ask the same question and get information from different models as well.
Dale, please.
It would be interesting to see what asking a question about future oriented job possibilities might be, especially regarding integration with AI. So to see, given my interests and my skills, what areas might be fruitful to look forward in terms of future potential opportunities. Because there's a whole new category of work, job related things that aren't really in the job market yet. But
Right.
thinking in the future sense, it would be interesting to see what kind of a response, the AIs would come up with for that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it makes me also think that if you subscribe to things like Gartner or even Harvard Business Review or
Mhm.
some of the, different consulting firms that put out reports all the time about like what's happening in tech, some of the changes that are happening, changes in the job market, the future of work. If you just use that hashtag, you will get a lot of information, whichever platform you prefer. But what I would do then is that I'd take some of that like where things are headed, maybe some of these reports, I'd add that to STS and say, like, leveraging this or based on this particular report, what do you think is where do you think this is going to go? And also like create your own, like
Absolutely.
make your own predictions. Like basically do some risk analysis. Try to kill your own thesis, make it stronger, and then base that on what skills you need to develop moving forward.
Right. But I would ground it in terms of the person's interests and needs and goals.
Yeah.
So that's the frame of reference for the search.
Well, to add more to that, Dale, is what does our society and all the hiring managers perceive are the top 3 or 4 new skills or competencies that these jobs require? And my
Except
guess is it's going to have an AI in there. There's going to be some soft skills in there. There's going to be a lot of new things.
two things about that. One is I agree with you, but I think they're too far behind the curve uh, to really have that kind of a vision. Especially people that work in corporations really
Yeah.
aren't seeing the future the way it's going to unfold if they actually still have jobs. In fact, I think we're seeing a sea change in the nature of work, which is kind of like what I was getting at more.
Yeah. So what I would be trying to position there, Dale, if I was in that job search market, would be these are things that I've noticed from McKinsey, from this, and from these reference points that I'm talking to the PMO manager or the vice president of operations, and these might be the things that we want to build into these job descriptions as we move forward to improve the capabilities of the new staff that we're going to be acquiring.
Right. So just my reference point is if you were going to talk to people, 3 or 4 years ago and giving them career advice, everybody would say, well, go into being a programmer. We
Yeah,
need more programmers.
yeah.
Well, in just 2 years, you definitely wouldn't want to go into programming because that's going to be totally eliminated. So that's the reference point I'm kind of coming from.
Yeah.
I took that question. I added the context for this project manager profile. So we've got the job description, all of that information as context. And I asked what kinds of jobs are likely to be the best fit in 10 years, consider reports on the future of work. So we've essentially got digital transformation leaders, AI data-driven project managers,
Yep.
change management, OD leaders, sustainability, ESG project managers, remote.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
So to Dale's point, if they're not quite up to speed, but you're answering these questions about the future, maybe they should consider you to create this project management organization, not just be a cog in the wheel of the existing one.
Hmm.
You can reposition yourself higher.
Yes, exactly. You're redesigning the systems. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the people they desperately need.
Right. It's Tom Peters 20
Yep.
years ago used to talk about the factory of the future. It
Yep.
was a guy and a dog. And the purpose of the dog was to make sure the guy didn't touch anything. So that was it.
Well,
It's not that far from what's going to be the case, actually.
I've had clients that basically had materials come into the front, loaded into the machines,
Yep.
no human intervention. Everything else was in a NOC, a network operating environment. And
Yep.
at the back end, they had somebody that was taking the product and finishing the loading up on the trucks or the train.
Right.
Nothing in between was human,
And that job is going to be replaced by a robot very shortly.
probably.
Least
Probably.
least you
But
guys,
anyway,
If you
I've
go to
had
an
clients like
Amazon
that for
warehouse,
years.
you see
We
that.
have just about 2 minutes remaining for the call, so I just want to make sure, Jay, before we sign off, did you have any final questions or thoughts?
This is pretty cool. I've been
That's
following along. I made the account, and I haven't really had any questions. I've just kind of been looking and monitoring, and pretty cool stuff.
all right.
Great.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah.
And next week's webinar picks up on this topic that we're talking on right now. It's called the human side of AI and why work still matters in the age of automation. So I'll put that in the chat. Hope to see you there next week. Francis, it looked like you were wanting to jump in there on some of this automation man and a dog story. Last word.
No, I had not heard about that story, so I was just looking for some references.
Cool.
Tom Peters, yeah.
Peters, right on. Okay. All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody. Another good call. Thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you next week, and don't hesitate to reach out to us through info@sts42.com if you have any questions or want to follow up with us on LinkedIn.
Very good. Have a good week, everybody.
Good day.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Great work, guys. Congrats on the success.
Thanks, Jay. Right on. See you
All
online.
right.
Stay in touch, guys. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.